Hello, good evening and welcome to episode 17 of the Green Lambkin podcast. I am Suzanne, your host, and I welcome you all, whether you be a returning viewer or a new viewer. Hope you enjoy tonight's podcast. I am the dyer behind Green Lambkin Yarn, and I can be found on Ravelry and Instagram as Green Lambkin and on Facebook and Etsy as Green Lambkin Yarn. I'm also part of a collaboration called Derbyshire Dyers, which I share with Carrie from Peak District Yarns and Annie from Wild Spinster Yarns. I've got a very itchy nose today. There must be something floating around that's irritating my schnoz. Anyhow, yes, welcome to you all. I apologise in advance for the state of my visage. I'm not very well made up today. I've had a very lazy stay-at-home day with the kids because it's the first day of the school holidays. I could not be bothered to put any makeup on this morning and then decided that it wasn't worth the bother of putting it on for the podcast. So I put a bit of Benny tint on my cheeks and lips and a bit of lip balm on just to make me look slightly less like a ghost because I'm a very pale person. And that's as far as it's gone. I've had my hair done though, so well, yes, I've had my hair highlighted and tidied up, so I feel that's a lot smarter. And I've also had a tattoo since last time I spoke to you. So this is my lovely mandala paisley tattoo. I had it done on the 1st of July, so that was a Friday. So it's just over 3 weeks ago now, so it's healing up nicely. It still feels a little bit bumpy and raised, which I assume will go eventually. But most of the nasty scabby bits are all off now, and I'm keeping it very well moisturised. And I absolutely love it. It's very bright colours, very me, and it has some personal meaning, so that's even better. So I won't go into the details about it because I know some people are very squeamish about that. But if you're interested in the experience that I had, if you're thinking about having one yourself or you just want to compare notes, I'm more than happy to talk about it. You can get me on any of the forums I've already mentioned. I'm more than happy to chit chat about tattoos. I'm having some very much needed coffee tonight, which I made in a new acquisition actually. Before we get on with the knitting, I'll tell you very quickly about this. I accidentally bought a tin of coffee, which in my haste as I ran quickly around a shop after my hairdresser's appointment 3 Saturdays ago, I thought was instant like Millicano kind of barista type coffee. And when I got home realised that I bought a tin of ground espresso coffee, which sort of spurred me into action really, because I've always enjoyed using an Italian style hobtop coffee maker, like a Bialetti type coffee maker. But my old one unfortunately got ruined in the dishwasher about 2-3 years ago now. It was, gosh Suzanne, come on, what's the word? Basically it was aluminium. Plated aluminium. When it went in the dishwasher, there's some kind of chemical reaction with the salt that's in the dishwasher and it ruined it. So I had been meaning to replace that for a long while, and once I bought this coffee I thought, oh, this is perfect. So I got online and I ordered myself a brand new Bialetti coffee maker. It's a 6 cup maker, but it's in 6 espresso cups, so it makes enough for me to have 2 big mugs of coffee with hot milk and a top up of hot water, which is perfect because Johnny doesn't really drink coffee, so that's perfect for me. One for now and one for later, although I'll save that one for tomorrow morning now. So it's totally different from the traditional. If you're familiar with a Bialetti coffee maker, it's like two cones. They're not actually cones, they've got facets, so they'd be probably octagons or maybe decadons, I'm not sure. Anyway, they've got sides but they slant in and then out again like that, and they've got an insulated black handle and a little lid that opens like a teapot, and it's got a mand, which is it's a sort of stylised waiter going on the side of it. Very cute and very, very attractive and retro to look at. But this one isn't like that. I still got a little 1 cup espresso maker, which is in that traditional style, which I'm keeping well away from the dishwasher, but I hardly ever use it because it's so small that it's really difficult to actually use it on the hob because the diameter of the base is so small. Even with one of those hob ring reducing things, it still doesn't really fit. But this one is actually it's made of stainless steel. Oh, hello Bramble, got a kitty on my knee. And the base is sort of bulbous like that, and then it's got a much longer chamber on top. So it's basically a process of evaporation and then condensation. So you put the water in the bottom, and then you have this special funnel kind of thing which you put your coffee grounds into, and then a lid which you screw on the top, which has got a long thin tubular chimney inside it with holes at the top, and the water boils, forces the steam through the coffee up through the chimney, and then it cools. So it condenses and then cools and becomes hot coffee in the chamber at the top, which is all very clever. And this one is stainless, so I could put it in the dishwasher if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. Perfectly happy to hand wash that. Anyway, all that to tell you that I'm having some nice espresso. It's not, because I've obviously done it with hot milk, but it's made in my nice espresso maker. It's called the Bialetti Kitty, I think, and it's really nice to look at. And if anybody is interested and can't find it from that, just drop me a little message and I will send you a link to it, because I, for one, am very happy with it. I do still need to use one of those ring reducing. Actually, what I use is the little sort of cross-shaped wire thingy which goes on the wok ring, because I've got a 5-ring hob and the middle one is a wok ring, and it's got one of these little sort of supports which goes in the middle there, so that if your wok's got a small base that won't quite fit on the normal hob irons, it sort of supports it. So I don't stir fry that often, so I usually keep the little cross-shaped wire support, like the ring reducer, on my front ring, which is my smallest one, and that's where I make my coffee. So as I say, it's very handy because it means I can have a cup now and a cup later, and I put the other cup of coffee that I make in the in a little melamine jug and let it cool, and then I can just pop it in the fridge, and when I'm ready I just stick everything in a mug, put it all in together and put it all in the microwave, and it makes me a lovely fresh coffee. So now I've spoken about beverages, let's get on to the knitting, shall we? I have one FO, which is socks, and I've just realised I didn't put them on the sock blockers as I intended to. So I apologise for that, but they're still beautiful, even though they're not on sock blockers. I showed you these last time. These are the socks which I knitted with Faye from Rose, Rosa's first experiment with, or one of her first experiments with hand dyeing self-striping yarn. And it's absolutely beautiful. I don't know if this is a different base. It almost feels as though it's got some silk in it, and I need to ask Faye about this because the hand of this yarn is absolutely gorgeous. Really cool. That's Bramble having a good old scratch against the table, sorry. Yeah, the feel of this fabric is absolutely gorgeous. I really love it. It's got sparkles, which, you might just be able to pick them up a little bit in that dark brown section. Yes, I think you can. So, yes, as I say, this was dyed by the lovely Faye of Rose Yarns. And it was an absolute joy to knit. Now, features. I did a normal cable cast on for the top. I started cuff down, top down, and then for the rib, it's a 2x2 rib, and then I did a twist every 4th round on the knit stitches, which makes this nice sort of twisted rib. And then a straight tube, with, sorry, I'm leaning funny because my back's hurting me tonight and the position I'm sitting in is slightly uncomfortable. So excuse me if I'm slightly wonky. So the toe, if you can see, oh yes, you can see, is a standard double decrease with a Kitchener stitched end. And the heel, I am very excited to announce, is a true afterthought heel. And I managed to get the yarn to start in the same place for both socks and the same for both heels. So as you can see, we have a matching pair. We have twinsies. Now, I think I'd finished one last time I podcasted, and I think I told you then that I really immensely enjoyed doing the true afterthought heel, because that corner is so neat. And I did explain the trick that you do when you do that, but I will discuss that again when I do my next true afterthought heel. However, because afterthought heels that I've done before have been with an afterthought heel line in them, I would normally pick up and knit an extra 4 stitches here in that little corner, but you don't do that with a true afterthought heel. There is no need to do that. And so what happened was I then did my normal knit 1 round plain, because I found when I've knitted several rounds plain and then started doing my decreases, my heel is too baggy. Ironically, I did my normal 1 round before starting the decreases, and the heel is too shallow for me because I have a very high instep, and ideally I could have done with at least another centimetre to 2 centimetres of depth in my heel. So these don't really fit me, even though they're long enough in the foot, because they stretch too much and pull too much here over the instep. But I've never knitted a pair of socks for my mummy, and she does an awful lot for me because she looks after my children while I'm at work, and I've not knitted that many things for her recently, so I decided that these can be a present for her. Now I'm not sure, because her birthday is at the end of September, so I might give them to her as part of a birthday present, or I might wait and give them to her at Christmas. I did knit her a pair of mittens last Christmas, the squirrel mitts, which I'm sorry I still haven't sorted the pattern out for, but I will very soon, because I know I said that I will be bringing them out around beginning of September, middle of September, ready for autumn. So I'm going to have to get a shift on with that, aren't I? Things have been really chaotic over the last few weeks, and I'm afraid it's been sort of back to basics, get your head down and carry on kind of thing, really. But I won't bang on about my woes, because they're nowhere near as terrible as those that other people are having to deal with right now. So I count my blessings and I just try to get on with it. So that's my finished object, and I'm really happy with them. Oh, look how matchy they are. I love them so much. And Faye, I need to know what this base is, because I'm sure it's not the same base. I'm sure it's not. Maybe it is. I'm feeling some socks that I'm knitting out of my equivalent base. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just imagining things. I'll compare notes with you, Faye. So that's it. That's the one finished object. A progress check. I'm going to make myself do this each time to force myself into doing something on this in between podcasts. This is the dreaded black jumper of doom, which I'm knitting for myself in King Cole Opium. Now, I believe last time I showed this to you, that's where the marker was. And since then, I have made significant progress. I reckon I'm about it's turned around, you can't see it. I reckon I'm about halfway there with the front, and I've already done the back. So if I can just pull my finger out and get this front done, I'll be done in a jiffy, because the sleeves are going to be extra quick. I'm not going to make them full length. I'm going to make like a 3/4 length sleeve, because 2 reasons. Number one, I don't like full length sleeves, and especially when they're floppy, they irritate me. And number 2, I don't want to cover this up. So what I think I'm going to do, because it's a traditional British knitting pattern, which says knit 4 pieces and seam them together, I've left the back stitches for the shoulder stitches on the back on holders, so that I can do a 3 needle cast off on the shoulders, and I short rowed them. So I won't need to join those seams with stitches. The side seams, I'm going to either hand sew but use a sewing cotton rather than using this thread to join it with, because there's nothing worse than a thick and thin to be doing your sewing up with. So I'm either going to hand sew it with a strong thread, or I may even use the sewing machine to join the side seams. And then rather than knitting the sleeves separately and then setting the sleeve in, because it's only a straight construction, there's not a lot of a sleeve cap there, I think what I might actually do is pick up and knit stitches around the sleeve opening, do the side seam joining first, and then pick up and knit down, because number 1, no seam to join here, number 2, no sleeve cap setting in, number 3, the hem of this garment, as you can see, is a very, well, I don't even know if you can see, but it's a 2x2 rib, which is knitted on a much smaller needle size than the garment. The garment is knitted on quite a chunky old needle. I think that's a 6mm, and this is done on a 4mm, and especially on those bits where the thick parts of the yarn are, it's an absolute nightmare once you're moving up the stitches. The stitches are so tight, once you move up to the next size needle, that first row is an absolute beggar to work through. So what I'm thinking is it'd be much easier to move down a needle size than it will be to move up. So if I go from the top down, the other thing is I've considered just not putting the rib on at all and just doing like a couple of rows of garter stitch and then casting off, but I do think I will want that rib there, so jury's out on that one, but I think that's what I might do to get this thing done, get it out of the way and get it ready so that I can wear it, because I know once I get to wear it, I'll be fine, I'll be more than happy then. So there is progress, slow and steady. It looks significant, but then you think about it, it's on a 6mm needle, so it's not that much progress really. Another thing which you've seen before, which has had, oh, this is Bramble. You can say hello. Kitten. Oh, there we go. Little neck tickle. In one of my lovely little Christmas project bags, which I made a couple of years ago. No, you're not allowed to get on the table. Come on. Come on down. Oh, don't you tell me off. Yes, I made this a couple of years ago, and I'm particularly happy with the lining of this bag. Really cute little purple and white polka dot fabric. No, I said you can't get up on the table. Go on, get down. This is Christmas socks for Cosmo, my little boy. Now, I've not made a lot of progress because I've been working my socks off on another sock, which I'll show you in a minute, which you've not seen before. But when I've just needed something really simple and plain that I don't need to concentrate on, I have been doing this. So we've got West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, which is a BFL blend base for socks. And the colours are, the solid red is Cherry Drop, and the variegated green and red is Hollyberry, which was their Christmas yarn combination for the last couple of years. And these are leftovers from my Christmas Eve cast on socks from last year. So here's the nugget of the main colour, and here is the holly, the cherry drop. Now I've got a lot more of this, but I've just wound a small amount off the ball so that I could pop that in my bag, and it would be a nice lightweight project for me to bob around with. So that's not too bad going. I'll probably put another couple of inches on, maybe, and then start with the heel flap. Might actually do a true afterthought heel in this. That'd be fun. But I'd have to be very careful to make sure I'd got the placement of the heel right, that I'd got enough length. The beauty of doing that would be that I could actually knit both the socks, make them nice and long, leave them until quite close to Christmas, measure them against his foot in his sleep to find the correct place to put the heel flap in, the heel in, and then cut the heel in the correct place so that I would know that they would fit him come Christmas time. You see, I'm not just a pretty... Oh, no, that doesn't work. Anyway, that's an idea. I might do it that way. Make it nice and long, and then I can more or less choose within reason. I know I've got some leeway in the middle of that sock to put the heel in exactly the right spot for him. I like that idea. So, oh, I didn't tell you what size needle that was on. I'm knitting that on Knit Pro. I've not told you any of the needles. They're Knit Pro Symphony interchangeables, which I still absolutely love knitting on. I love the sound of them. So comforting. These are Knit Pro carbons. They're very thin. The markings have, of course, worn right off them, but I do believe that's a 2.25mm, and they are very, no, they're not very anything. They are a fixed circular needle. I don't think they do interchangeable below a 3mm anyway. So that's that. That's that one. Now the next one that I'm working on is a very exciting project which I got on the needles about a week ago now, and I'm really pleased with how quickly these are coming along. I offered to do a spot of test knitting for apparently the subject and the theme of today's podcast, Faye from B and Rose Yarn, who's designed a duet of sock patterns, both of which are absolutely gorgeous. Now I can't remember what the other one's called. Is it Stella? There's two anyway. One's got they're both lace socks, and they have lace up the front and a plain back. One's got this lovely sort of arched pattern in lace, and the one which I'm working on is called Autumn's Journey. And I actually dyed this yarn to knit them in because I wanted something a bit different, and I wanted something autumnal to knit them in. And I do love autumnal colours, but you know when you just look at your stash and you can't imagine the socks in anything that you've got in your stash. Well, that's what sort of happened to me really. So I decided to dye something for myself. So this is on the Stellina Sparkle Sock Bag. Oh, it's sparkling nicely for you. The colours are a little bit not exactly true. It's not too bad, I don't suppose. So I have called this my Mellow Fruitfulness colourway, and it's tones of sort of fawny pinky, plum, caramelly brown, and sort of rusty orange colours, which do work together very nicely. You might see it a bit better like that. So say the colour's been slightly distorted, but maybe if I show you in the yarn, in the knitting. So this is the sock. So here we go. I'm testing the toe up version of the Autumn's Journey sock. So if I hold it really closely, if I can get my arms to stop shaking, you should be able to see these meandering sort of autumnal ears of wheat, I like to think of them as. And I'm here. Now, if I turn it around, I measured it earlier for my foot. And where the marker is where I'm going to put the True Afterthought heel. So I'm allowing myself an extra bit of length to help accommodate with my high instep. And when I put the afterthought, when I put the heel, pick up the stitches for the heel, this time I'm probably going to knit 4, maybe 5 rounds of plain knitting before I start my decrease, which should hopefully help to accommodate. This is a little bit sort of pointless because I've decided I'm going to be using this pair of socks as a display item for when I do shows and things, because I've decided I'm going to dye this yarn again because I'm really happy with how it's looking. It's especially if you see it on the back, it's like almost micro striping, and I really didn't expect that to happen, so that was a real learning curve for me. Cat on the table again. Cat on the kitchen work surface. Oi! Get down! Psh! Get! Bramble! Naughty! Sorry. So yes, really interesting, and I really like, if I can just show, I've got a dead arm now, these ever so often really intense little pops of this plum colour. Totally in love with that. And the pattern, obviously once it's been blocked, will be much clearer to see, but it is such a pleasing pattern, and it's the ideal for me. For one, I'm only knitting the pattern, the lace on the front of the sock, and the back is in plain stocking stitch, which is fantastic. And secondly, I can't even remember what my second point was. Go dear, Suzanne. Anyway, if it comes to me, I'll say it in a bit. But this is the Autumn's Journey sock, which I'm hoping Faye will be releasing very soon, and I will keep you up to date on that because it's absolutely beautiful, and I am certain you're going to want to knit it. And the colourway is, it's green lambkin fibre on the sparkle sock base in mellow fruitfulness, which is going to be going in my next shop update, which should be in the next couple of days. I've got a bit of a busy week this week because this Sunday night is the second ever Derbyshire Dyers market night. So 8 o'clock on Sunday night, come and find us on Facebook if you would like to have a look and see if you can snag yourself a lovely skein or two. And I'll tell you all about that in a bit. Excuse me, in the shop update bit. But I'm hoping by the end of the week to get another shop update done because I've got a couple more new colours. Well, I've got this one, the mellow fruitfulness, and another one to show you today, and I've got ideas for a couple more as well, so I'm hoping I'll be able to get those done for you later in the week. But just to finish telling you about this is on my Chowgu red laces, which I absolutely love, with the super sharp points and the super slick joins, and I really like the cable on this. I think this is a bit of a Marmite cable. People either seem to really love it or really hate it, but it just behaves itself, and it stays where you tell it to, and it doesn't twist up. That's the main thing about it. It doesn't get all kinky in your bag and then keep flipping around and getting in the way, which I have found, I must admit, with my carbons and my Novas from Knit Pro. I love Nova tips, but I have had a couple of problems with my Knit Pro Nova fixed circulars recently. Mainly that after some use, not excessive, but after some use, the cables start to have some movement, and they sort of pull in and out a little bit. So not completely out of this metal sheath here, but to some degree they come out, and it's a bit narrower there, so it creates this little ditch which the stitches get caught in. So, to digress again, I decided I needed another pair of sock circulars to replace the Novas, which are now no longer usable. And I was going to get another pair of red laces, and then I remembered that the only pair of higher sharps I've ever tried were the 9-inch circulars, the old 9-inch circulars, which I did not get on with at all. So I decided to order a pair of 2.25mm higher sharp fixed circular needles. I'm going to see how I get on with those tips and with those cables as a contrast to the Chow Goos. I know that there are lots of people who really like the higher sharps, so I'd be interested to see if they are comparable, what the relative sort of benefits and drawbacks are between the two needles. So anyway, that's for another sock which I've just cast on, and I'll tell you a little bit more about in the next podcast. Hopefully by the time I speak to you next, this sock will be off the needles and on a blocker so that you can see it a bit better. But I'm really loving it, and I'm housing that in my Adorky Emu project bag, which I treated myself to a few months back. Going on quite a few months back now. But it's very fairy tale-ish with pretty trees and unicorns and stars, and my little fox called Ferdinand, because I'm a little bit into these Beanie Boo key rings. So my little fox called Ferdinand is hanging out on this bag and keeping me company. It makes me feel very happy, and I don't care if people think I'm behaving like I'm 6. I've got an owl called Olwyn on my gym bag as well. See if I care. Me and my sisters have got a bit of an ongoing joke about our gym bags at the moment, because the other week when we were walking to the swimming pool, after we'd done the school drop-off, all these kids from the local senior school were out doing, I don't know, counting traffic, some kind of traffic survey or something. And this group of girls were all tittering and giggling as we walked by, and then one of them shouted, "I like your bags!" as we went by. So now we keep making ridiculous jokes about how hilarious our bags are. So I have one other work in progress. And the story behind this is that we've been working, I say we, that's the royal we, I mean mainly Johnny has been working on a summer house at the bottom of the garden, which we had sort of towards the end of summer last year. And he's been painting it, he's been cladding it inside. A couple of weeks ago, we finally got round to getting the electrics fitted, so now we have a mains light and a double plug socket down there. We've got, he's since laid a laminate floor, put some shelves up. He's working on building a table, and it's just finishing touches really now. So I'm wanting to make some bits and bobs for in there too. We've got a couple of nice cane sort of conservatory type chairs that were given to us very kindly by my brother-in-law's parents, because they were replacing their conservatory furniture. The covers are a little bit tired, so I bought some nice fleecy throws for the two chairs, which I put on today, and it's all looking very cosy in there. And hopefully when it's finished, I would really like to actually make a podcast from there, or at least do a bit of a tour and show you around. The plan is that in the very near future, I'm going to invest in some decent movie editing software for my laptop, and I'm going to actually start making a bit more of a professional job of this podcast. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to insert photos and clips and a bit of music and all that kind of stuff soon. I have been experimenting with the free ow, the cat's digging her claws in my thigh. The free trial software, but unfortunately it won't let you save anything. You have to buy the software in order to save files. So it's not very expensive. I'm going to get around to doing that this month. So hopefully I can at least do a little tour of the summer house, but I might wait until this project that I'm working on is finished. So what does every summer house need apart from chairs and fairy lights? Yes, that's right, viewers. It needs bunting, doesn't it? Every summer house needs bunting. So I went digging and searching and looking on Pinterest and Ravelry, and I thought I'll crochet bunting. And I've got lots of this 4-ply mercerised cotton. Let me show you some of the cottons that I've got. It's mostly Peyton's 4-ply 100% mercerised cotton. So this is a mustardy kind of ochre colour. There's lilac, nice sort of indigo blue. Oh, I've just found a hook there. Forgot about that hook. I've got lime green, like a pistachio green. I've got red. Ooh, look how bright that looks. Cerise pink, brown. Also, there's a lilac-y, darker lilac-y purple. All sorts of bits and bobs. Excuse me. But I searched around a lot. I thought I'll make crochet bunting. There's some really pretty patterns, but I haven't actually found anything that I liked. And so I kept umming and ahhing. I experimented with different things, messed around with hook size, and then if I just show you this, I worked. This is really nice, and I probably would do this again in a chunkier yarn. This is the half lotus mandala bunting. Sorry, it's a bit curled up, but if I can just try to show you this, it's very much like a half doily, and it's just, once it's blocked, it's sort of pointy like that with scallops going down to it, and that is very lovely. But I wanted my bunting to be a bit bigger and have a bit more of an impact than that. So I've been experimenting with some flags. I thought I will design my own. I know I'm no Deirdre Weiss, or however you say her name, but I know my way around a crochet hook, and I know how to make a triangle. And I got the basic principles down. So I thought I'll have a play. I'll try some different stitches and things, and do some colours. And this is what I came up with. And I'm really rather pleased with it. Let's just wait for the colour to normalise a little bit. So I started off in the centre with a simple 6-petal flower with a border of pink to make it triangular, and then some green. Oh, there is a lighter pink in there, but you can't, lilac, but you can't see it very well. Some of the dark purple, bit of this light orange colour, a round of red with popcorns, which takes forever, and then a couple of rounds of yellow, and then the indigo blue for an edging. And on the top edge I've just done, I did one round of standard English terminology here, standard double crochet around first, and then on the top edge of the bunting flag I did a second row of double crochet on there, because obviously I want to crochet I want to join them up, so I need a flat surface into which I can crochet along the top. So I put this kind of scallop with a picot edge treatment on. Oh, these I'm very pleased with, these little leafy things here. These are done round the post of one of the stitches in the pink ground, so that it makes them a little bit more prominent. So I'm quite pleased with this, and I might just write this down, even though I know I can copy it from this one. But I decided I don't want to do all of this because it's quite time consuming, especially that popcorn round. So what I thought I would do is flags of different designs. I'm not sure whether I'll just do this one and then a simple one and alternate them, or whether I might do 3 and alternate those, or whether I'll do everyone completely different, maybe, I don't know. But I'm really happy with this, how it's turned out. I have stopped myself because I decided that that vast array of colours wasn't quite enough and that I wanted a little bit more variety in my palette of colours. So on to Wool Warehouse I went, and I have ordered some of the it's that one that nobody knows how to say. Is it Norwegian or is it Icelandic or something? It's spelt sheepjes, but it says something like sheepjes or something. I don't know. Katona is the name, and it's mercerized cotton, and it's really good because you can buy the same product in 3 different ball weights. So you can buy 100 gram, 50 gram or 25 gram balls, which I thought was really good, because actually 100 grams of 4-ply cotton is a hell of a lot of yardage. So if you're only wanting small bits for a small project like this, that's actually a really good idea. So they were ordered first class, and I ordered them yesterday, and I'm hoping that they're going to come by tomorrow with a little bit of luck so that I can carry on. So I'm now on my second triangle, and my second one is a good old granny triangle. But I'm stopping here because I don't want to have too many triangles that don't have any of the new colours in them. So I've just decided to wait, and then I can integrate some of the new colours in. I've got a bit of a lumpy bumpy thing going on in this one, but it'll be all right. It'll block out. I should have stopped and redone the middle. It's something to do with that middle part, but be right. I'll block it. So there we go. I'm just going to go until it's about the same size as the first one. And then I think I put the same sort of edging treatment on all of them to tie them together. I can't remember all of the colours that I've ordered. I think I've ordered, it's either 4 or 5, but I'll show them to you next time. But there's definitely a really nice sort of reddish purpley kind of, I think it's called Trojan purple, yarn. Then there's a really dark, like blood orange colour, because this one's a very pale sort of tangerine orange. Very similar in colour to the mustard. If you look at them together, they're tonally very similar. So when you put them together, there's not that massive a contrast, and that's what I'm looking for. Lots of contrast. Trying to be a little bit strategic with this. So yes, the orange, the purple, there's a dark teal and a light sort of minty turquoisey Oda Neely kind of a colour. And what I'm looking for is, because these are all very bright and all very primary, and what I was looking for was a few more colours to sort of knock back the colours a little bit and give that extra depth to the project. So that's what I'm going for. Hello, baby. Hello, my little girl. Brrr. You wanting some more tea? You're like a hobbit, aren't you? Is it second tea time or is it first supper time? I'll feed you in a minute when I've finished. Just shut up. Shut up. Shut up. So that's all the projects that I've got to show you. The rosewater shawl has been sadly neglected. The yarn that I told you about that I'd experimented with dyeing last week, I was talking about how the skein had got horribly tangled, and my mum had untangled it for me, or was in the process of untangling it for me. That's now completely untangled and beautiful. And last night, in a bit of a frenzied moment, I decided to cast it on, and I cast it on to some DPNs, thinking it's donkey's years since I've cast on and knitted a pair of socks on DPNs. Let's do it for nostalgia. And I got to the third round of the 1x1 twisted rib and said, sod this for a game of soldiers. And ordered myself a pair of high sharp fixed circulars, because having gone to Magic Loop, I think I'm never going to go back to DPNs. And it's a bit of a shame, because I like the Knit Pro Zings very much, but I do not like the Zing circulars. I think the joins where the needle meets the cable are rubbish, and I would really like to be able to treat myself to a set of the Zing DPNs, but I'm not going to bother because I know I'm not going to use them. When I can magic loop, I don't see why I would do anything else. It's so much speedier, and I really enjoy the process. So hopefully the needles should be arriving tomorrow, so I'll be able to transfer them, and because I need a bit more mindless knitting on the needles, so I shall work on that a little bit hopefully and be able to show you how it's coming out. It's not how I expected it to be, and it's not self-striping, but I don't care because the colours are lovely and it will make me a lovely pair of socks. So I'll show you that next week. So yes, I don't think there's any other projects to tell you about at the moment. The blankets are on a complete hiatus because number one, I've got too many other things that are pressing, and number two, I can't knit on them during the summer really because I just get too hot. So come autumn, I'll probably start to make some more progress on my various scrappy blanket projects. So, on to a small bit of information about Green Lambkin yarn. I've already showed you the autumnal colourway which I've created, which is going to be going into the shop shortly. I've got one other yarn to show you which I'm really happy with the effect of, which is also quite autumnal, slightly Halloweeny, which I'll tell you about in a second. And then I've also got one of the examples of one of the colours that I'm dyeing for the next Derbyshire Dyers market night. So I'll show you that and talk a little bit more about that as well. So the Mellow Fruitfulness is my first new yarn, and the second one is this. And this is called Grot Bags. Now, if you are a child of the late 70s, early 80s, and you were allowed to watch ITV, children's programmes, you will remember Emu's World with Rod Duncan? I'm sure that's right. Anyway, whoever it was, Rod somebody, an emu, they had a programme which was really popular, and one of the characters in the programme was a witch called Grot Bags, who was played by a wonderful actress called Carol Lee Scott, who sadly passed away very recently. And I dyed this in remembrance of her because that's a part of my childhood that, well, I remember being both completely in awe of and petrified by Grot Bags at the same time. And they used to do this thing where there was a knock at the door and they all used to dance around in a circle going, "There's somebody at the door, there's somebody at the door," and we still do that to this day. So yeah, so this is lime green, dark purple, and little tiny weeny speckles of black, which I'm trying to experiment and fine-tune my technique with. I'm not the best speckler by any means, but there are some reasonably credible speckles. Look, a little bit of speckle in there. Really happy with how that's looking, so I'm going to make some more of this and put some in the shop. And then the other dyeing that I've been focusing on, there's only one more skein to show you, I'm afraid, because I did want to get some dyeing done today so that I could show you my ideas tonight, but unfortunately that didn't happen due to me being exhausted from yesterday's shenanigans, which I'll tell you a little bit about in a minute. But the Derbyshire Dyers collective, the three of us who I told you about earlier, Peak District Yarns, Green Lambkin Yarns and Wild Spinster Yarns, we hold a virtual market night every last Sunday of the month at 8 p.m. Each month there is a theme. Last month's theme was Bess of Hardwick. That was the inaugural market night. And this month's theme was chosen, that was chosen by Annie from Wild Spinster. It was Summer Nights, which is quite an open brief really. Haven't had much time to think about it until this last week really. And then I had 3 ideas. I was thinking, what does Summer Nights represent to me? So I had a bit of a sit and a bit of a ponder about that. And then I thought, well, one of the things that we do really, not frequently, but we do really love to do on summer nights, Johnny and I, is we've got a chimney, a black pot-bellied chimney, very sort of witchy. Grot bags would be impressed. Pot-bellied with a tall chimney on the top and a grill door that opens in the front. And sitting in front of a chimney, I've had my spinning wheel out in front of it. We've sat and knitted, and Johnny's played the guitar, and very, very homely and cosy. And that's really quite representative of summer nights for us. Oh, I've just realised I've still got some of my waste yarn ties in here, but I'll show you anyway. So, this is my chimney colourway. So lots of flame colours, subdued flame colours, with specklings of the black chimney on top. There's some really quite dense bits of black in there as well. And then all of those flamey colours. And then the other 2 colourways that I'm going to make are do you know, for a moment I had a complete brain freeze and couldn't remember what one of them was. One of them is going to be based on the Northern Lights on a summer night. Now, coincidentally, Carrie from Peak District Yarns, she's just released all her colours. So if you go over to the Derbyshire Dyers Facebook page, and I think she's put them on Instagram. Yeah, I will double check that. If she hasn't, I'll give her a nudge to put them onto Instagram as well. But definitely, you can find the album for this month's market night over on the Derbyshire Dyers Facebook page, and she's already uploaded all her yarn in there. And one of her colours is actually called Aurora Borealis. However, the concept and the colours, oh, it's beautiful. Excuse me, I've got really dry lips. The concept and the colours that she's used are incredible, but very, very different from what I've got in my mind. So I don't think she'll mind. I will double check with her to make sure, but I'm sure she'll be absolutely fine about it. So yeah, I'm hoping that those are going to be quite luminous colours, and as soon as it's done, I will post pictures of it on Instagram and put it into the Facebook Market Night album. And then the other one, just trying to remember what the name of the colourway is. It's based on a scene from a film which I've always loved called Practical Magic, and a lot of you, I'm sure, will know the film. It stars Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, and that bloke who played that Croatian doctor in ER, whose name I can never remember. Yes, but anyway, it's based on a scene where their 2 characters, Sally and Gilly, are little girls, and they're living in this big old Victorian mansion house in Maine. And Sally casts this true love spell called something Veritas. I can't remember. Amoris Veritas, something like that. Anyway, it's a Latin name for this spell, and the idea is that she knows that there's a curse on the family, and that if they fall in love, the man they fall in love with is cursed to die. And so what she decides to do is that she will only fall in love with the man who, she does this spell to make sure she would only fall in love with a man who she has created sort of an impossible personality and persona for, if that makes sense. So she can't fall in love. So she sort of says all these things like you can ride a horse backwards, you can flip pancakes in the air, you've got one brown eye and one green eye and one blue. His favourite symbol is a star, and all these things, thinking that this man would never exist. And she does this makes this spell, and it's the colours in the scene are the most beautiful sort of twilight summer's night colours, with these shining silvers and lilacs and whites, and then these dark midnight blues. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to be attempting to recreate that colourway as my third, and I think I haven't managed to think of anything else. I will have a little bit more of a think about the whole thing, but I think I might stick to 3 colourways, see how I get on with that. Yeah, I haven't, nothing else has really sort of like sprung to mind. I've thought about, you know, summer houses and fairy lights and that kind of stuff, but it hasn't really ignited my imagination, hasn't captured my creativity and made me think, yes, I want to make that in the same way that the other ideas have. So I may just stick, because I find if I'm not passionate about what it is I've got to make, it won't turn out well. So I think I might leave it at those 3 this time. So yes, there's not much else to tell you about really. Just general shenanigans, really. It's sort of, sorry that I'm stealing that from Amy Beth from the Fat Squirrel Speaks. Yeah, just general bibbling on about life, if you're interested in that. If not, I shall say ta-ta for now and see you hopefully next week. But otherwise, I'll tell you a little bit about what's been going on in the last couple of weeks. So, it's been a stressful last couple of weeks, really, just mainly because it's been the end of school for Ivy and the end of preschool for Cosmo. There's been lots of gift making, lots of extra activities like parties and assemblies and this and that. Stay late after school for this, come back to school after you've gone home for that, and it's just left us sort of running around like headless chickens, really. Which is why I've been a little bit quiet. Excuse me, it's my bedtime. Yes, so there's been lots of that, and it's really exhausted us all. But now school's out and we're all trying to decompress a little bit from that and just sort of take stock. Yesterday was a very busy day. Ivy had a fantastic report from school, year 2 report. She's done really well in her SATs, which personally I don't really care about, but because I just think it's a ridiculous way to monitor the progress of a school by putting a child under ridiculous pressure. However, she did do really, really well in them, and I wanted to reward her for all her hard work. So we decided to take a trip to Warwick Castle on Sunday, which was amazing. And if you are ever looking for something to do with youngish children, please consider Warwick. It's not cheap, but what we did was we used Tesco Club Card voucher points and redeemed them against days out, which is fantastic. We do maybe a couple of times a year and get some really nice days out of that, which is fab. So it made it a really affordable day out for us. And we saw, they've got like a medieval tournament arena, you know, with the long, narrow, sandy area with the partition up the middle, so that for the jousting, and then the stands where everybody would watch and cheer on their sides. And they basically did this amazing reenactment of the War of the Roses, which was the war between the House of York and the House of Lancaster, which is in Lancashire. Amazing. It sent, actually getting it now, thinking about it, shivers down the spine. I'm so sorry. Me and Johnny enjoyed it every bit as much as the kids. You know, horse was in full livery, knights and in suits of armour, jousting, sword fighting. There was fire and pyrotechnics and everything. They have a full working trebuchet called Ursa, and we watched the show of that being fired, which was incredible as well. What a piece of machinery that is. Incredible, really. We went to a princess fairy tale show, and we also watched a Horrible Histories performance whilst we had our picnic. We saw eagles being flown by the falconer. We went all inside the castle, in the jail. It's the most amazing day out. And they've got a maze, a Horrible Histories maze as well. I didn't go in because that was the last thing that we did during the day, and by the time that we got to that at about 4:30, I was absolutely exhausted. My fibro had really started to flare up and I needed to sit down. So Johnny went through the maze with the kids while I had a rest. So that was that. And today, which has been the first official day of the school holidays, really, we've had a really slow, easy day, chilled out. The kids had their swimming lessons late afternoon, so we just relaxed and tried to do as little as possible, really. I did a bit of cooking, a bit of laundry, but that's been about it. I've sat and done some crochet and some knitting, which has been lovely. The only other thing I wanted to show you quickly was that I have been making some bracelets, and I started doing these because I wanted to make something nice for all of the female teachers that have looked after Cos and Ivy over the years. We made something different. There was only one male teacher, so I'm not discriminating. We made something different for him. Excuse me. But these are a lot of the beads that I've accumulated for stitch marker making. They have a lobster clasp fastening underneath. And I'm gradually building up a bit of a collection, but I really like the way that they look together. And I am considering popping a few of these up in the Etsy shop, and I've just wondered, what do people think about these? They're not precious stones, they won't be very expensive. These aren't silver fastenings or anything, but I thought I'd just try them and see what people thought. They're made with tiger tail, they're quite sturdily made. These are quite large because I have very large wrists, but they can be made in different sizes. I also made a lot for Ivy's little friends because they came round for a bit of a party on Saturday. 6 of them, so I made 6 for them, made a couple more for Ivy, a couple for my friends. So let me know what you think. If you'd be interested in those, I'd love to hear what you think of them. Happy to put a few in the shop and see if people like them. So apart from that, I think that's all I've got to tell you this week. I will hopefully podcast again next Monday evening. So until then, dear friends, happy knitting, and I will see you again very soon. Good night. Farewell.